this has been a lengthy project. Most of the past winter months I've spent, as you know, installing this pickup and then this pickup. I think maybe though the most time consuming project has been the reworking of the Vibrola. This part now, I started out, if you remember, it was a two-piece add-on. And I made a whole new part. This bottom plate, this is one piece now, all the way from here to here. that seemed to improve it a lot, is not having so many different pieces and having it in one piece. And also the length was, I think, a factor. In the first one it was not long enough, and we had more string length. It was back here about 2 inches shorter than this one. I got to noticing that last year when I went out to Gruen's one day, and they had an old guitar there with a a real Vibrola on it, you know, for an arch top, made back in the 40s. And he wouldn't let me take it off, but I was able to, you know, look it over real good and make measurements of what he had. And of course I brought him home, and that's kind of the basis of what I did here. And later on, when I got done with the Vibrola work, which I think I'm done, it works fairly good now, or a lot better than it did. I may do some more to it yet, but for now it's working good enough. I guess the last thing I did here lately in April, May, was I took my guitar out to a luthier friend, Gene Jafellers, and had him to put 2 pieces of inlay up here in the neck, you know, like Chet had on his. And while he was there, he also dressed the frets down a little bit lower. They're kind of big high frets, and I never did like that too much. I like mine a little bit lower maybe than most folks. So he dressed them down and recrowned them so they're a lot lower than they were, and that, well, to me that made it a lot easier to play. And of course I was able to lower the strings a little bit too, and that didn't hurt anything either. I guess maybe a couple of things that I haven't done that I probably will do next year would be, I want to remake this bridge. I like the tone I'm getting out of this metal part here, but well, I need to find somebody that can do casting and make a casting of the original wood bridge, or make a mold out of that original bridge and then cast that in aluminum, or maybe bronze, or maybe, I don't know, I'll try 2 or 3 different metals to see what sounds the best. I think Chet's was cast aluminum as near as I can tell, you know, looking at his guitar there at the Hall of Fame, and so that's one thing that I need to do on my list. And I guess another thing would be one of these days to find somebody that can remake the a new pick guard in the way that his was made, is shaped a little bit differently, and do the binding work, you know, make it look real nice, and change this nut out now to a metal nut, and I think I can probably do that. That's, you know, probably within my capability, and of course it's kind of an easy part to get to, so if I mess one up, I'll just make another one until I get it right. I took Eddie Pennington's advice and made some soundposts, some bridging under here, under this bridge. And, you know, that got rid of a lot of the feedback, or maybe 99% of it. It's very little now, or, you know, to the point of insignificance, I would say. And I noticed after we did all of that and got all that set back in that it did improve the acoustic tone a little bit. It's not as loud as it was, but I think the tone is a little more balanced now, you know, from the low end to the high end. And I guess structurally it's a little more, you know, a little stronger structurally for the, you know, for all this hole cutting and things that were done. And one other thing I did on the end here was when I made this new piece for the Vibrola, that sort of forced me to make another piece on the end here. The old one was different, you know, it had a hinge type of thing here, and I found that that was binding and causing it to go out of tune, because this thing needs to move right here. When you move this arm, this whole piece moves a little bit, you know, from side to side, and it needs to be free here, and so it can come and go a little bit, and it'll come back to this and rest on the same spot, you know, so you don't go out of tune. And so that seems to be working fairly good. I may do a little bit of more work on that later on, and or I may make another whole piece now that I've done it. I kind of know where the mistakes are, and I could make another one now and make it just perfect, you know. So I'll probably make another one of these later on this year, or maybe next winter when I'm not doing anything. One other thing I did on this Vibrola that really improved its functionality was the manufacturer used, I guess, hot rivets when they put this piece together here with this arm. It's like a sandwich, two pieces with some components sandwiched between it. And they hot riveted all that, and of course when the rivets cool off they shrink, you know, and pull everything together tight. And that was causing a problem, because when this arm moves, it needs to move freely, so it can also come back to, you know, its, I guess, its center position. And it wasn't doing that because of that riveting technique that they used to put the thing together. So what I did was I drilled the rivet out of this pivot piece, and replaced it with a steel pin. I think I drilled the hole out a little bit too so it would fit, you know, the pin size. It was a little bigger than the rivet. And this just sits in there, and the lid actually holds it in. That's that little thing sticking up right there. That's the end of that pin. And so the lid holds it in there, and it's all free and not binding. You know, you lube it a little bit with some molly coat or some sort of a, you know, a paste type grease, and that vastly improved the operation.